All right, so we got a highlight game here for ATS.io radio. We're going to be having this video over on our ATS YouTube page. That is the Browns taking on the Ravens in a game with interest to me. Got the Browns shirt on here. I don't know
There
how
you
much you
go.
can see it. I'm trying to hide my fat beer gut from the camera, but got the Browns shirt on here. Looking forward to the start of this season with dynamic skill players. They just signed Kareem Hunt an extension. They've got the two backs set up. They've got Landry and OBJ. They've got talent at tight end now with Austin Hooper, and they've got Kevin Stefanski. On the other hand, they're taking on a Baltimore team that not much has really changed. They're basically the same team from last year, a team that was, a preseason Super Bowl favorite, up there with the preseason Super Bowl favorites, I should say. Still Lamar Jackson, still John Harbaugh. What do you think here about the Ravens, who are laying, 7.5 or 8 as this number trickles down a little bit in the market?
I lean with the Browns here. I obviously can't question the talent that they have. I mean, the problem for the Browns has been coaching continuity, and I would say lack of having a head coach, specifically last year with Freddie Kitchens. So, Kevin Stefanski could be horrible, but I still think he's an upgrade over Freddie Kitchens. So, having a little bit more from that department, I think that I would say is better for the Browns. And what also is better for the Browns, I mean, you talk about off-season noise the last 3 years. The Browns have been the the paramount of off-season noise, whether it be Baker Mayfield, whether it be Hard Knocks from a couple of years ago, whether it be OBJ. I mean, I know you're there, so maybe you're not a good. I would say someone that can maybe price point this, account for it, but I barely heard anything from the Browns this year compared to offseason as far as nationally goes. I know that's a Browns town and they talk about it 24/7, but I think not having any noise, or at least the perception of not having any noise this year for the Browns, I think is a positive. I also think being able to play Lamar Jackson and defend his style for the third time, I think is a positive. Having all offseason to defend him and having the game film is a positive for the Browns. The fact that they went into Baltimore last year and beat up the Ravens should give them a sense of optimism that they can hang. So, yeah, I think anything above 7. I mean, I bit off a little bit on the Browns here, even though historically the Browns are the worst team in the NFL, bar none, as far as season openers. They've won one season opener since 2000 or since 1999, since they started it back up. I know you're well aware of that.
Yeah, I wish I could say I remember the game that they won, but I actually don't. The one thing I did see, division dogs very good in week 1, 38-16-1 the last
Yep.
55 times that's happened. So that's something that maybe favors the Browns a little bit. As far as the hype train, very guarded optimism, I would say, in this area. I'm born and raised in the Cleveland area. Guarded optimism would be what I would call it. But what's interesting is, like you said, I feel like nationally, or at least in gambling circles, it's the Arizona Cardinals that are kind of getting that Cleveland Browns treatment here this year with Kyler Murray, with Cliff Kingsbury going to play really fast, with getting DeAndre Hopkins and Isaiah Simmons and all that. The Cardinals have kind of taken over that mantle as that team that everybody wants to buy into. The Colts are a beloved team out there. Some people kind of getting on the Chargers bandwagon. Like you said, the Browns
Is
aren't
that
that
Tampa
talked
Bay
about
with
team.
Tom Brady?
Yeah, whatever. Everyone knows about Tampa Bay already.
All right.
The Browns aren't that team this year, and maybe that
Yep.
does help them. And Baker's said all the right things for the most part, about kind of getting focused again and stuff like that. And maybe he's got a good rapport with Stefanski. God knows it's got to be better than his rapport with Kitchens. Yeah, I mean, the Browns have a chance to do something special here, and we'll get a good litmus test in week 1. With that being said, and I think both of us do kind of lean with the Browns here a little bit, this is the the poster child for not overreacting to what you see in week 1. If the Browns get their asses kicked, and it is a possibility, it doesn't mean that they're bad. If the Browns beat the Ravens, it doesn't mean that the Ravens are regressing. Don't read too much into this single game, because I think you could wind up costing yourself some money here in subsequent weeks if you do.
Oh, and the biggest overreaction week of the entire NFL season, year in and year out, is overreacting to 1 week. That week 1 sample size. I hope there's plenty of that going on in week 1 this year. So hopefully there's market overreaction. But I agree with you. I could see the Browns winning this game outright. Or I could see them losing the game by 3-4 touchdowns. And let me not, say be too much down on Baltimore. I think outside of quarterback, And again, Lamar Jackson was the MVP last year. I think the Ravens have the best roster and at least the deepest roster in the NFL. And maybe that doesn't come to fruition in this game, but I think over the course of the season, having that very deep roster, even though everyone's limited to 53-man roster in the NFL, I think having that depth of talent for the Ravens is why they're still clear-cut the favorites, at least in the AFC North.
Well, maybe not the strongest pick from both of us here, but we do have a lean towards the Browns in this Browns-Ravens game here for this video on our ATS YouTube page. And we certainly encourage you to go check out all of the content, not only at ats.io, but also on our YouTube page as well.